How many legs do you have?
One and a half. One is like my colourful leg. I change that all the time to match like my outfit. I've got my blade and I've also got my Terry Bradley leg.
Terry Bradley made you a leg? That is sweet.
Yeah, he's such a legend.
He is a legend. He absolutely is a legend. Alright guys, what's the crack? Welcome to Pub Chats and a Pint, a podcast series brought to you in partnership with Harp, where we sit down with really interesting people from Belfast in a local pub. Today I'm joined by the absolute force of nature, who is Bernadette Hagans. She is a footballer, she's a streamer, she's a presenter, she does loads of stuff with Northern Ireland. She also competes competitively in Call of Duty, amputee model, charity ambassador, cancer survivor, West Belfast born and bred, the list goes on and on and on. But Bernie, really excited to have you here on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
By the time we get through all the intros to the pub, the pints will be like down to there. So I was doing a quick Google, like I always do, before sitting down and having a chat with you today. And one of the quotes that I came across from you that I thought was really interesting was, "My life began at 22. Tell me about that. What's going on there?
I think basically for like the whole beginning of my life, I kind of just lived I lived in a wee box pretty much. I didn't let myself try new things, and I just tried to just work and plan for my future and everything like that. But then whenever I got diagnosed at 22, I kind of realised that life is so short and I hadn't been living my life. So yeah, I think it took for me to get sick for me to finally start actually living.
What was that process like? I have no idea, like getting diagnosed at a young age.
It was a wee bit mad. I kind of had an idea that I was sick, but basically I was going to my GP for like almost 9 months before I actually got diagnosed. So yeah, mentally I kind of knew and I had prepared myself a bit, but nobody knew. I kept it a secret from everybody. Like,
what was your kind of early symptoms, or like how do you know, oh, there's something going on here that's beyond, I don't know, whatever they threw at you, like post-viral fatigue or chronic fatigue syndrome or whatever?
That's actually, I was really tired a lot of the time, and I was losing a lot of weight. But like the main thing I suppose was I got a lump in my leg, in my calf, and the pain I was getting in my leg was kind of like shin splints, so you've just been training legs in the gym, but I was not training my legs in the gym, so I was a bit mad. But I had also just moved out to my first apartment at the time that was on the top floor, so I was just like, maybe I'm really unfit or something, and I just didn't realise it. But yeah, over time it just got worse, and yeah, it's crazy. And
you kind of like alluded to it, but like, was there almost, this sounds like a bonkers thing to say, like a sense of relief whenever you finally found out what it actually was?
Yeah, I felt like I finally got an answer, like finally someone was listening, and finally I knew that it wasn't all just in my head. But yeah, it was a weird feeling, because obviously like I'm happy that I finally got an answer, but at the same time it's not the best answer to get.
Yeah. There's a mad clip, I don't even know where I saw it of you, like, and you're sitting in the car, and I assume it was just after the doctors. What possessed you in that moment to like document that moment on camera after getting diagnosed?
See, at the time, I had just been told that I was like diagnosed with a pretty aggressive type of cancer, and in my head I was thinking, I'm only 22, and a lot of young people everyone just thinks it'll not happen to me, and there I was suddenly, and it was happening to me, and I didn't know how it would go, so I just kind of wanted to try to document everything that was happening, so that information was out there for anyone else that maybe needed to relate to someone or get a bit of advice or information from someone, just so that they weren't feeling alone, because throughout it all I kept it a secret, so I was alone during it all. So,
wow. Yeah. When was the first time you told somebody, and who was it?
I told my parents.
Yeah.
And they were sitting watching The Chase, and I know, not the best. I'm like, well, what have I got? What's your answer? But yeah, they were sitting watching The Chase, and I just kind of went in, and I got this wee card when I got diagnosed, because my type of cancer was so rare that it wasn't just an easy name. So they had written it on the back of a wee card that said Friends of the Cancer Centre. So they were in the middle of speaking, and I was just talking away, and in the middle of the conversation I kind of just slid it onto the table. Yeah.
What was the reaction?
They both actually reacted really differently. My mummy was a wee bit angry because I didn't tell her and didn't let her be involved or be there for me. But
what was the time delay, roughly?
Delay in telling them?
Yeah.
Oh God, I actually I think I told them like a few days maybe after.
Yeah.
I think it was. Yeah, but other than that, like nobody had known.
Yeah.
Yeah. My daddy actually, he was very in denial. So he was just like, oh no, it's a wee mistake, like you'll be fine. But I had been told that I was potentially going to lose my leg, so I was like It's really not that fine.
So you were told from the kind of early on that the leg was going to go?
They had an idea from the scans and everything, because I had went for like a lot of tests leading up to it. They thought so. They weren't going to confirm it until they had done an extra test, because they couldn't just stitch it back on.
Yeah.
So yeah, they had an idea, but I didn't know for sure. But yeah.
Let's completely pivot here. Like, your childhood, what's one of the first things you can remember?
One of the first things I can remember, being in Bundoran, staying in the summer, and there was like a wee shop, and they would give me like wee dolphin sweets, and I've never actually seen those wee sweets again, but I feel like that's one of my earliest memories.
And if you were to describe who Bernadette was kind of like before 10, who was she?
Oh my god, really energetic, bubbly, trying everything, just a wee bit mad.
Were you like one of the kids in school that had like all of the bags? Like the multiple bags?
Literally me, I swear to God, I was trying every single sport. So it was mad, even at the end of the year. And you know, you get the wee, we would get like a wee booklet with all of our certificates and everything. And I always had a lot more than my brother. Because I was always trying so many different things, but yeah.
Are you competitive by nature?
So competitive.
Really?
Yeah. I was always so sporty.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sporty from when I was really, really young. It's actually really funny. Thinking back to like an early memory, I suppose, I remember in nursery we had a race, and I fell during the race, and I started crying, and they gave me a first place medal. So in my head I must have been like, I need to start winning now from my own. But yeah, I've always been really, really competitive.
Any idea where like that sort of competitive nature comes from? Because some people have it and some people just don't.
I actually don't know. Maybe competing with like my brother and stuff, because we would always play things together. But that might be it. But God knows, but I'm so competitive, and it's just kind of continued on with everything that I do.
Yeah.
It's so mad to think. Because even like I started learning to run and everything again with my prosthetic, and I've got a running blade now too. But yeah, like there's even the possibility of doing Paralympics and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, like.
What did you say you have a running what?
A running blade.
Running blade?
Yeah.
Is that like, excuse me, like one of those like kind of springy looking legs that you see in the Olympics?
It's like a big slope.
Okay, yeah.
It's so bouncy. It's amazing.
Is it really bouncy?
So bouncy.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I remember chatting with Mary Peters a few years ago.
She's a legend.
I should say lady or dame. I never remember what it is. She keeps getting promoted. I'm like, what the heck are you, knight or something? But she did a book called Sport Inspires. And it was all about female athletes. And this is, I think it's her theory, but she was like, a significant amount of the athletes in that book all said that their competitiveness with their brothers was one of the reasons why they were able to go far in their career. Yeah,
that's so weird. I've just said that.
How many brothers do you have?
I've got 4.
And so, like football, would you have been like sort of family football on the street, football in the garden, football everywhere?
Yeah, I got really into football because of my brother as well, because he played. So we didn't have any like girl football groups or whatever. So me and my cousin were a team, and he was our manager. So it was just me and her. But then sometimes we would have to split up and play against each other. So then we were, playing friendlies against ourselves.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And then at what point did football become more serious in your life?
Oh, I continued it on sort of like the whole way through school and everything. And it was just something that I enjoyed. Like one of my favourite memories and everything growing up was always watching like the World Cup and everything with my family. And it's like one of my favourite things to watch with my daddy. So I've just always loved it. And I love now that I get to sort of continue being a part of it with the presenting for Northern Ireland. It's so fun.
So back to 22, you're incredibly sporty, you're full of energy, you're a type of person who's tried lots of different things. What's it like to have your leg taken away from you?
It was so weird at the time. I remember just like some of my thoughts were, I use my right leg. That's my kicking leg. So I was like, that's so mad that this is the one that I have to take. I didn't know at the time like what I could sort of continue to do. But yeah, I also worried about driving because I love driving. But luckily I actually ended up driving like a few days after my surgery.
Seriously?
Wee bit mad, yeah.
So I'm so glad you brought this up, because like I'm always like, I'm so curious about like only having one leg, but I also want to do it in a polite way. Yeah. I was literally driving in this morning, I was like, can Bernadette drive? And I felt like I need to do a whole segment called Ignorant Amputee Questions, where it's just like, can I just ask you like all the stuff that I'm afraid to ask you about?
You can actually ask me anything. That's the thing though, because see, for like the longest time, people have always thought that they have to hide it. They have to hide like an amputated leg and things. So a lot of the time around Belfast especially, I'm the first person that people have seen with a prosthetic because I show it. But there's so many people. But that just means that a lot of people don't really know much about it. But yeah, I'm willing to answer all the questions.
It's good. You're the first person I've ever seen that has not just shown it, but leaned in to, I don't want to say drawing attention to it, but like, I didn't even know that you could get like sweet looking prosthetic legs. Do you know what I mean? And I like was going through your Instagram and I was like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, that didn't even exist. But I remember whenever I had like a week's notice of finding out I was definitely having my leg amputated. And during that time, I went to a place called the RDS in Belfast. And basically, I wanted a chrome leg.
Yeah.
I wanted a chrome leg, but they said it wasn't possible. So you kind of got just like a standard leg, or you could have like a t-shirt brought in to mold around the top of it. But I was like, that's not, I want the whole thing. I want to look like really robotic, and it didn't exist. So I knew then, whenever I got one, that when I got a prosthetic, that I wanted to try to customize it.
Yeah.
So I was trying different things with my daddy, and we were like trying different like materials and things on the leg, and we started wrapping it. We were trying different types of wrap and everything to see what worked best with the prosthetic, because also if you fall, you don't want to make sure it doesn't get too scuffed. So we started trying loads of things, and then I brought the idea to a car place, and then we actually do it for like kids and everything going through treatment. So
unbelievable.
yeah, the customization didn't even exist, but
wow,
now we do it for a lot of people.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep going with ignorant questions. Is that okay? Yeah. How many legs do you have? Do you own?
1.5.
I set you up for that one, really, didn't I?
I've got 3 legs.
3 legs.
Yeah.
And is it like a different leg for a different occasion, or like what way do you work it?
So I have one that's like my colourful leg. I change that all the time to match like my outfits and things.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's so fun, like, because I've got a button in my ankle. I'm actually wearing it right now. I have a button in my ankle that I can adjust for changing the foot for heels and things like that. Yeah. I've got my blade, and I've also got my Terry Bradley leg. Yeah.
Terry Bradley made you a leg?
Yeah, he did me a leg as well. Yeah.
That is sweet.
Yeah. So mad, like, so mad.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's such a legend.
He is a legend. He absolutely is a legend. This motion here, how does this work? Can you do it? Can you not do it?
Like my foot?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I literally just push in the button on my ankle, and I can adjust the foot. Right. So I can leave it loose where it moves as I walk, or I can lock it into place. So the likes of heels, I'll usually tilt it up, lock it into place so it doesn't move. Yeah. But then that means I'm walking, like basically on a stilt. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Good for your balance.
That's the thing. Whenever I was learning to walk in the hospital, I remember there was like, it's mostly old people that were going through it pretty much, and I was the only young person there, but they always sort of just sit about and drink their tea and their coffee and eat their biscuits and don't really have an interest. But I was bringing in different types of shoes. I was learning to walk in heels and everything. So yeah. Mad.
And then driving, do you drive a normal car? Is there some modification to it? What do you have to do to your leg to make the pedals work? Yeah, so beforehand I used to drive just regular manual, and now I drive automatic, but I got twin pedals installed in my car, so I'll drive with my left leg. So you'll do all two, well I was going to say all two, but it's automatic, so the 2 pedals with the 1 foot? Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Wow. Yeah, it's so funny though, because if someone else was to get into my car and try to do it, like they'll like slam it, kind of like when you're pressing the brake or whatever, or pressing down the clutch, but I actually picked it up really, really fast, which is just insane, because whenever I was driving a few days after my surgery, I just gave it a go and was like driving around the hospital, and it just felt like natural. But like even producers behind the camera here, have you ever tried to brake with your left foot in the car? Mate, it's carnage. You don't realise how sensitive it is. It's like boom. Because I tried to let my daddy try to like drive with his left leg in my car, and he instantly was like, woo. And he's a really good driver, so I instantly was like, I'm so much better than you now at driving. You competitive nature coming in clutch. Yeah, I was like, I can do better. That's awesome. So gaming, when did gaming come into your life? God, I've always been into gaming. I remember like my first console, I think, was like a Sega Dreamcast. I think that came out in the 90s. Yeah. Sonic, come on. So I was playing when I was like a toddler, pretty much. Wow. Yeah, my family's been into it. It's really interesting because like you were you born in the 90s or the early 2000s? Yeah, late 90s. So like I was 95 and like total nerd, total gamer. And it was not cool for girls to game. Yeah, it wasn't. It was like, your mind couldn't even fathom that was a thing. Whereas now it's totally shifted. So like you've kind of like, you were an early adopter and you rode that wave, which is really cool. Yeah, I just was like, again, just so competitive because my brother is like unbelievably good at games. Like, I think even back in the day, in like Modern Warfare 2 days with Call of Duty, he was first in the world and everything for like a really good way. I mean, you didn't interview your brother. I know, so I instantly am like, I need to try to be this good. But yeah, it was something that I really, really loved. But then I had a few years where I didn't play anything, and it was actually leading up to when I was sick. Like those few years, I just didn't really play much. But then after I got sick, I realised I was like, I actually really enjoy this, and it's like a really big hobby of mine. So yeah, I just got straight back into it, and I'll play again.
Yeah.
How did you end up competing competitively?
Kind of accidentally. I just started playing with a lot of people, and I'm not the worst. I'm not the best, but I'm not the worst. And yeah, I just started like trying to always constantly get better anytime I had a chance. And I've just kind of started getting into streaming and things. But yeah, I'll like compete in like a lot of the female tournaments and stuff now for Call of Duty.
Class.
Be a bit mad.
Streaming as well on Twitch, aren't you?
Streaming, yeah.
What's that like?
It's so fun. I'm pretty new to it, but like a lot of my friends stream, and it's so good. It's like having like a little mates just to sit and talk to you while you're playing your game.
Yeah.
It's so chill. Like it's so fun.
It's interesting, like almost some people will like shoot me for saying this, but like the crossover between sports and gaming, like it's like athletes' brains are perfect for competing competitively gaming. Do you know what I mean? And it's almost like, I feel like growing up, there was a bit of a separation between the two. It's like you're either a sports person or you're a gamer.
Yeah.
And now that's all kind of got a wee bit more grey, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's like esports now. So like so many different sponsorships of like different sports now sponsor a lot of like these streamers that are competing and things. So it's amazing to see.
It's class.
So good.
So back to 22, like how has your life changed? Let's do both. How has your life changed for the better? I love that positivity that you bring to that. I think that's really inspiring. And what are the bits that suck?
I think the bits that are good, I feel like I got my eyes open to a whole new world after my leg. I've met like so many different people and I've learned a lot. And I think I'm just finally living the life that I wanted to live, but wasn't actually given my chance to live, like giving myself the chance to live it. Even the likes of the modelling and stuff, like it was something I always loved watching other people do. I never thought that I could do it. Yeah. But then all of a sudden I took a chance and now I get to do it.
It's class.
Yeah, it's so mad. There's just so many different things that I didn't try until after it. I did a skydive. Like,
really?
Yeah, like
class.
So I know I actually couldn't do it with a prosthetic on. So I had to take it off in the plane and then jump out, and it was so fun. Like I got to control the chute and everything. It felt like I was playing Warzone. Like,
dropping in.
Yeah, it was so good. And I remember landing. You're supposed to lift up your legs so that you don't like break them in case you have like a quick fall. But I landed standing up, and I was the only one without a second leg. So
one leg land?
Yeah, I landed standing up. So
that's carnage.
I know. It's like, oh my god, I'm a superhero. But yeah,
definitely.
I felt amazing.
As you should.
Yeah, I've tried so many different things, so there's a lot of positives. I think the main thing is basically just meeting a lot of new people, and I love getting to use what's happened to me to help other people as well. Like I've got to meet so many different kids that locally, I suppose, didn't have anyone that could relate to them. So for me, I wouldn't change a thing. Like it's been so worth it.
Yeah.
Downsides of it, I suppose, I get a lot of phantom pain. I don't know if you've heard of phantom pain.
Tell me.
It's the maddest thing. So I still feel my leg even though it's not there. It's so weird because for 22 years my brain recognised the ends of those nerves down at my toes. Yeah. And obviously they're cut now and down towards my knee. But my brain still thinks it's down at my toes. So when I get pain sort of anywhere where my leg is, my brain will feel like it's down at my ankle or down at my toes, and it's not.
So when you have like an itch you need to scratch on your leg that's not there. Yeah. Is there somewhere on what's left of your leg that you can scratch to itch that, or is it just you just have to ride it out?
I kind of have to just ride it out. Sometimes I'll try. That's like the worst. I'll take the actual pain over the itch because the itch is so intense and I just can't scratch it. It's the worst thing ever. Mate. Yeah. But the pain is so weird because like it changes as well. Like in my brain for some reason, like it'll differ. Like sometimes it's burning and sometimes it's like getting hit with a hammer or something in the foot. Like I one time had like a week straight where I felt like my toes were being bent like upwards. It was a weird, I know, it's mad, it's so mad. But yeah, phantom pain is a big downside. Wow.
And is there anything that like increases it or decreases it?
I think maybe like wearing my leg like for super long, or like maybe doing loads and loads of walking. Sometimes actually sitting on like a certain seat will do it, because when I'm sitting, like the prosthetic will rest more on my knee, and then it'll just sort of cause a bit of phantom pain throughout if I'm not like sitting like comfortably. But I don't know, it's just random really. It's really weird.
That's, I mean, I can't even really comprehend or like imagine what it would be like. In the early days, like when you just had your leg amputated, did you ever go to like try to like kick your toes or wiggle your toes or anything like that?
Like sometimes my brain can still feel like my toes even though it's not there. Yeah. So right now in my head I'm like trying to move my toes, but it feels like, you know what it feels like? It's like your leg is in like a cast and you can feel it but you can't move it.
What?
That's what it kind of feels like. So right now I'm trying to I'm doing like this with my leg, the bottom of my leg.
Yeah.
I can feel my kneecap moving, but there's no leg to actually swing.
Mad. And so like in your head, you can almost like feel as if you're trying to wiggle your toes.
Yeah, it's like I'm trying, but they're like stuck. It's weird.
That's mad. I really liked what you said about like using what's happened to you to be a positive influence in younger people that are coming up behind you. One of like the big like, kind of values that I live my life around is to be who you needed when you were younger.
Yeah.
So like I have a journey through lots of different stuff like all of us have, and a lot of what I do in my life now is very much orientated around those pain points.
Yeah.
You know, things around mental health and things around suicide prevention and all this sort of stuff. And I was doing a last minute creep on your Instagram. You put something up today and I was like, that's really interesting. And you said, be the energy that you want to receive.
To attract, yeah.
Yeah, be the energy you want to attract.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. I think that's interesting.
I think it's just so important to try to be positive and surround yourself with really good people, because if you're around good people, you're probably going to be a good person. Whereas if you're around like a lot of bad people, it's going to rub off on you. So yeah, just reminding myself to always make sure I'm choosing the right people to spend my time with and everything, just to try to make sure I stay on the right path.
It's important. Who are some of the most important people? Don't want to put you on the spot or leave anybody out, but if you were to shout out a few people.
Oh God, my family, my brothers and everything as well. My friends, like really, really amazing friends. I feel like I am just surrounded by like a lot of amazing people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really, really supportive, and people that constantly like motivate me to do better as well. It's the best kind of people to be around.
It's great. My brain's going back to something we talked about earlier, so I'm just going to go back to finish the loop. Again, probably insensitive or ignorant, but I'll do it anyway. I'm not deeply attached to the modeling world, as you could probably guess. And like who's someone so far removed from all that, I feel like I've noticed a transition where in my head, and maybe it was just in my head, everything used to be very like cookie cutter. It used to be like, it's all about being this size, this tall, you look a certain way. And in recent years, it seems to be more about like being different, being diverse. And I guess what's my question in this? I guess my question is, do you find that being an amputee actually gives you a good niche to dominate in that fashion world?
That's a really good question. I feel like there's definitely been a big change. You know what's so mad though? Before I got into it, I didn't know anyone like me. I'd never seen anyone like me in anything really, which is kind of one of the reasons I got into it, because I tried in my head again at the time. I was thinking I want to be able to show that you can do this in case there'll be kids maybe come along and think they're not good enough and things. So I just went for it and got lucky, I suppose. But yeah, at the time, I feel like it was always so perfect. It was really, really tall, super, super skinny, like models that just looked so perfect. And it wasn't like a reflection of reality, I suppose. But over the past few years especially, I've noticed that there's been a big shift and people are trying to be more inclusive and more equal with everything. And it's so good to see. Like, but sometimes it's weird sometimes with brands, because you can kind of tell which ones are trying to tick a box and which ones actually care.
Like a diversity inclusion sort of thing,
you can always see it, and like there's other people that I know with different differences and disabilities and things like that, and it's so easy for us to notice when it's happening. For example, like for me, one time, it's a bit of a mad story I suppose, but I had this photo shoot for like a brand, and the photo shoot was so fun. I loved it, and we got some really cool photos because the photographer was showing me some of the shots that we got, and some of them were really, really amazing. Showed the clothes so well and just looked really cool. But in the end, one of the photos that they used basically barely had me, but had my leg taking up half the photo. And I was like, I can tell instantly that why I was booked. But it's weird, because then it's helped me realize that as well, because I can tell which ones to, although I can love a brand, I can tell which ones not to work with, I suppose. But yeah, I've learned a lot, and I think as time has gone on, more and more brands are fully just actually wanting to be inclusive, which is really, really good to see.
So I want to ask you one of my favorite questions, and it's like totally a nosy question, right? But like I remember being 18 and sitting in school and just like thinking about how to make money and thinking about what job, and it was so narrow. Bernadette Hagans, how on earth do you make money?
I think it's really important for anyone that's like 18 and trying to figure things out to realise that it's not always so black and white. Because when I was their age, I thought that I was going to go to uni, study English, become a teacher and things, and I'm not a teacher, so it's so mad. You never really know what's going to happen. And nowadays I feel like I don't even know how to explain what I do. Because I do the presenting for Northern Ireland, which is one thing. I do my modelling. I acted in a TV show.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, like I've done so many random things. Like I acted in a TV show. I don't even know. I just do so many different things. Like I do all my social media kind of stuff. Yeah. I do my streaming as well. So I'm like, what do I do?
But that's the thing. Like you've just mentioned, let's just for argument's sake say 5 streams of income, and that's just not the way. I think especially in Northern Ireland that we're like brought up to think. Yeah. Right. So like. It's really funny. I also thought I was going to go to uni and study English and become an English teacher because so I was just like creative, enjoyed literature, enjoyed writing, and that's just kind of like the path that was available. And now it's like there's like 4, 5, 6 different things that are spinning, and you know they all just kind of come together to make up an income. Do you know what I mean? So it's cool.
Yeah, that's so mad that we actually
bonkers.
Same thing.
Totally bonkers.
Crazy.
All right,
Crazy.
Landing the plane. A couple more stock questions we ask everybody. If you could go out for a pint with anybody in Northern Ireland, dead or alive, who would you take and where would you take them? You
know who I would take for a pint?
Who's that?
My granda.
Great answer.
My granda. Because I remember growing up and everything, he'd be at the pub with his mates, like having the newspaper. I'd be running in and all hand me a pound, and it was great. And I feel like I would love to have a pint with him now that I'm older and just sort of talk about everything that has happened in his life. And then also mine, because like my family are so supportive. It'd be so great for him to know everything that I'm doing as well, because he had cancer happen in his family too, and it's like it'd be good to kind of show him sort of what I'm doing to try to raise awareness and things like that. Yeah, all your charity work's unbelievable. Like I have a lot of respect for again using. Can I swear on this podcast? I don't know. I guess that's my call, isn't it? Beep.
Taking a really situation that you experienced and finding a way to turn it around for good. What sort of things would you ask your granda?
I think like one of the things that I have noticed with Show My Leg is a lot of young people will come up to me and say things like, oh, that looks amazing, what is that? Or like, how does that work? And I want one, because I just love it. A lot of people my age will come up and just wonder sort of what's happened and just sort of just look at it and just think it's amazing. The only time I ever get weird looks, it's usually from older people.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, a lot of them are really like lovely and just sort of think it's nice that I'm showing and everything. And they're all like, oh, God love you and stuff like that. But yeah, anytime if I was to get any weird looks, it's usually from an older person because they're so used to it being hidden and they just think it's weird that it's on show. That
is definitely a generational thing though, like across the board. There was a real hiding of everything. Yeah. And like we talk about this all the time, like we don't know, is it like from the Troubles where like everyone's trying to keep the head down, they don't want to stand out. Yeah. And you really do notice like younger generations like starting just to like come up and like not be afraid to show a little bit of individuality and express that. It's interesting. Like first reaction, like gut instinct, gut response whenever I ask you like what's the kindest thing that someone's ever done for you?
Oh wow. The kindest thing that someone's ever done for me, I think of my friend Roisin. Whenever I got sick, it was like Halloween time. And then for like November, I had like a lot of different tests and things like that. But I remember leading up to Christmas, I was so used to going out and doing all my shopping and whatever and getting everything sorted. All of a sudden, I was stuck in a wheelchair because I hadn't learned to walk. And I was wondering how I was supposed to go out and get my family things because all of a sudden I'm like, I need help here. But my friend Roisin, I remember every time after work she was coming down to me and then me and her were going out shopping and things like that. And in some shops it was great that I wasn't walking because if you're in a wheelchair you get to go to the front of the queue. So no regrets. It was so nice.
Silver line.
Yeah, it was very good. I think she enjoyed it too because she got a lot of her shopping because it was in a queue. But yeah, I remember she helped me and that's like one of the things that's always stuck in my head. So she's like a wee angel. Yeah.
Awesome. Shout out to Roisin, absolutely. Yeah. Final question, Bernadette. This has been great. If you could go back in time, if you could turn this pub into a time machine and go back to a 22-year-old version of yourself, just either before you got diagnosed or maybe even sitting in the car that day when you pulled the phone out and you had a couple of minutes of her time, what sort of things would you say to her?
That everything's going to be okay and just try to use what's happened to you to help people. But mostly just that everything's going to be okay.
Awesome. Bernadette, thank you. That was really, really awesome. I really enjoyed hanging out with you.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's been
really
so
great.
fun. Yeah.
Thank you so much to Harp as well for making today's episode possible. Really, really loved the time chatting to Bernadette here and excited for the other episodes in the series. Big thank you to guys behind the camera as well, Rosca and Al. Really appreciate you making everything work. And massive thanks to Southside Social as well here on Botanic for letting us use this incredible space today too. So yeah, thanks a lot. See you again next time.
Cheers to that.
Oh, come on.
There we go.